What's going on, guys? New week, new pod. How's it rolling? How's it rolling?
New clothes.
Yeah, you know that. Uniformed and that, because I'm all about the uniform, innit?
You are.
Keeping you in line, yeah?
You love it.
It's mad. But, what's it?
Obviously, let's very quickly say, obviously last week we were unable to put out a pod, not for anyone's fault, but obviously we put the challenge out. Good reactions?
I got violated, I'll be honest.
I think when you put out the demonstration, you violated me a little bit, because it looked dead.
Who makes these edits?
The actual go, I done alright.
Yeah, that was whack. That was whack.
I got told, I hit the bar and it didn't count. And people were messaging me like, come on, Brownie.
I got my brethren's phoning me and that, like, Sean, you're dead now.
Do you know what the worst bit is? My missus was at work the other day, like when we done the first challenge before you was involved with Lee Hayes and the hitting crossbar, the 15 goes. If someone watching that, my missus was working, was like, your other half's shit.
That's embarrassing.
I tried calling you out last week and this week you finally admit to it. Fucking hell, mate.
I was like, do you know what? At least I'm honest. I could have stayed there until I hit it clean 15 times. I put the 15 out. That's the one thing I will say with the challenge, is that I'm honest as anything. Like, well, it is what it is, even if I'm not happy with it.
Well, I mean, you've got to give him that, but I mean, that you was trying to claim for that.
So we're going to start taking it more seriously now then? Should I start putting up scorelines today?
I'm not taking it more seriously, but just now got a little bit about me in it.
I think we should though. I think we should.
I've got the stuff ready. I've got people's heads up and that.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Put a wager on it, yeah?
What is the score now?
To be honest,
last two challenges I won, you know.
Liar!
You didn't win the one before last.
No, man, you're a liar. You're a liar.
No, the last one you won, but I think the one before that, I think I had that one.
What, when I hit crossbar?
I hit the crossbar.
No, but it wasn't the challenge.
I'll tell you what.
I think I won that one.
I'll tell you what. From this moment onwards, anyone watching or listening, we will make sure that all challenges points are kept, and we'll do a weekly total of who's won the challenges the most.
Yeah.
Cool.
Your points count during the challenge, yeah. So even if you're ahead and you get 1 point, it adds to your total.
Oh, so it keeps rolling until the end of the season, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Carl's now going to take it very seriously.
No, I'm not. I can't.
So wait, just put it out there. What happens if we win?
What happens if you win?
Yeah.
You get a pat on the back.
Oh, you know, this man's cheap.
It's boring. It's boring. We can't have that.
What are you putting up? So
Do you know what?
I'll say I'll buy everyone food.
No, let's put
Damn!
it out to the viewers, bro. What do you want to see happen to the losers?
Yeah. Maybe it's going to be a forfeit.
I'm just putting this out there. Remember you was young and you used to pay, is it called bare ass?
Red ass.
Red-ass.
You know, I was just thinking that. Red ass. Yeah, 100%.
And the guest on the week,
Blaze
gets to blaze the ball at you, and the
I'm
others.
happy with that because I see you two's accuracy. But
Watch when he goes out there tonight, I'm going to hit him smack on the head. Anyway, so obviously this week we've Harrison Williams this week.
yeah,
Really knowledgeable guy.
yeah.
And he's had a bit of both, hasn't he? So anyone who does watch, he's had a point where he was sort of like his mum and dad run the club.
Ish.
And then he ventured on his own, and now he's doing really well in the men's game.
Do you know what he's? You'll find out on the pod. He's 27, coming up to 28, and the amount of experience that lad has, his journey hasn't started. I'll say it hasn't, and the amount of experience he's already got at that age to be doing a first team, and to have done first teams. Yeah, it's an interesting pod. He's very. You can tell when the pod is very knowledgeable.
I think from managing in that league, well, not me, as in being a part of the team, at Tooting Beck, it would be interesting to see what he does with Redhill. It would be really interesting to see his journey. So I'll definitely keep an eye out on where he's going and what he does and how he gets on.
Any news on your coming back to football, or have they said that they're coming back or not?
All I know is that we'll be back at training at the end of the month. But with no indication of whether the league's going to be null and void. But there's been I've heard that that tournament thing that non-league were going to do got voted out, so they're not going to do it. I know another few leagues have been null and void, so I won't be surprised if we're kind of training for nothing, basically.
Well, I just read that Huddersfield Town women, who were top of the Northern Prem by 3 points, couldn't get promoted anyway because they haven't got 140k to go into the Championship.
Oh,
we had
don't want to.
So we had this discussion off air very quickly before we even. Obviously, we're gonna get into the pod in a second. But my thinking of this is, look, if you're gonna, I said this to you earlier, if you're gonna have a team, and then you get to the top of your league and then say, oh no, we can't go up. What's the point of having a team? What's the point of putting a ceiling on it?
I think
it's like a glass ceiling, isn't it?
But that's what I said to you. It's very different in the women's women's game. Like sponsorship doesn't flow.
I understand that.
Like don't get me wrong, Huddersfield Town. If you know your women's section's there, like your men's section should put a little bit and go, yeah, it's 140k, but it's an investment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I know they're probably not under the same umbrella, but regardless, you talk to the men's side and you go, look, is there a sponsor that will be happily come and jump on the women's side? Think about the what you're going to get by being in the Championship, playing against your Liverpools, playing against,
of course,
like going to Continental Cup and playing against your West Hams and your Chelseas and all that. Regardless of the scoreline, like the view of the club will look different.
100%.
So
100%.
yeah, and I know it's a cliche because everyone's like, yeah, but you shouldn't rely on the men's. Yeah, I get that, but
Do
if
they
you're
have a
part
choice
of a
at this
professional
point?
club, like think of the exposure you're going to get. Like,
of course,
be part of it. And then if Huddersfield do get a Prem spot, like the
they'll
men's,
be doing better than their men's.
no, but if they get a men's Prem spot, their women's will be similar teams. So like get involved.
Yeah, so you can mirror them.
But that was it.
basically,
What's the point of not even, what's the point of getting there and saying, oh, we can't go up because it's not. Personally, if you're going to come at me with that, don't make a team. That's just how I think. I'm
It's a
sorry.
little bit harsh.
But that's
harsh.
Listen, life's harsh, and I think football is exactly the same. Men or women, it's exactly the same. It's a harsh living.
Yeah, I don't.
But there's men's teams that are in those situations.
Yeah, there's a team around here. I think it might be. Don't quote me. I think it's Corinthians or something like that. They're in
casuals.
Yeah, and they're in like.
Bit rhyming in there.
No, it's not. It's a different Corinthians then. But they're out near Blue Water. Basically, they're at like the Skeffel Prem or something, and they've won it like 3 times and decided to not go up. But then again, I look at that and say, like, what's the point then?
But then again, it's
how are you going to attract players?
It depends on the philosophy of the club. It's like is promotion their thing? Do you know what I mean? For some clubs, it's not. It's just.
I think the downside is at the moment where the women's game is.
Yeah.
Every club should be aiming.
We can ask our guest that today because he's in
the Championship / WSL because
it's,
let's be honest, there's not that ability wise is a massive jump. But I'm talking about where the leagues start and where they there's not a massive. So any club worth their salt should be aiming to get Championship WSL status. Even if they were to start this year, they should have a 5 to 10 year plan to try and get into that.
Yeah.
Because even if you do it for a season, it's in the record books.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, 100%. That's it.
Like Millwall's you've got it in the record books. I know Lioness have taken it, but it's in the record books. It was Millwall that was there. It wasn't Lioness.
100%. Yeah, well, it's just like the FA Cup run they've had, and the FA Cup.
We're gonna have some guests that are sort of in and around long non-league men and women's, aren't they? So
let's talk about that.
We'll ask them when they come on. But yeah, going back to the pod today, Harrison's pod. It's a good inroad I personally think for someone who wants to know what it's like to start your career and be young. And I don't know if you guys have anything more to comment on this pod coming up.
Yeah, no, it's a good watch. It's a good watch.
You get involved halfway through.
No, I was so like
she was into it.
Yeah, because the thing is that I was so like embedded in his story that I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to ask questions. I was just like I was in the room.
Also, his challenge and his challenge was pretty good as well, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's the first time I've seen Cole work hard.
See him run.
I'm trying to get.
Actually, no, you've been running this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've been running
this week.
let's
talk about that.
Also, as well, anyone that wants to sponsor Cole, he is raising money for. So, do you want to speak about that, Cole?
At the moment, I'm doing 50 miles in March for Sands.
50k or 50 miles?
50 miles. So that works out about 80k. And that's for Sands charity. So that's for the neonatal stillbirths. And so it's a great cause, to be fair. I've got my own little story with my 4-year-old who we're lucky to have around, which we'll talk about probably another time. But it's encouraged me to start running. I've currently done 32k up to date. I've got 80k to do, so a little bit to do, but I don't run.
So you're nearly halfway then.
So if someone wants to sponsor you and they're listening on the pod, where can they do that?
So you need to go onto my Facebook, search my name, Carl Davey, and it's all on there. You can track my journey on there. If you follow me on Insta or you follow me on Twitter, I'll put up the link every now and again as well. It's just, all I'm trying to raise is £150, but every penny counts. It's a great cause. Like, I don't run.
And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put the thing on him, and I'll put a link in the description for anyone that wants to go and go get it done. Other than that, let's get this pod underway.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's introduce it. Here it is. Unorthodox.
We call our own shots. Yo, welcome to the Unorthodox podcast with myself, Carl Davey, and Sean.
Hello.
Today with us we have Harrison Williams, current Redhill, is it United?
Just
First
Redhill
FC.
FC.
Redhill
mate.
FC,
Just
first team
Redhill.
manager. Yes. So, how you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for coming on. How's lockdown kept you?
Yeah, all right, not too bad. Been working every day, so I've been luckier than some, albeit working from home. So like, still long.
Well, at least you've been at work. I know it's been a head loss for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. It's been harder when no football. Obviously, we was playing up till December, so that kept me busy. But since Christmas, it's been tough.
Good. So me and you actually go way back. We go back a while ago.
Yeah, I was a pup, man. I was 16 years old, so I was a baby.
We go back a while ago. Talk to me about your coaching journey, because you have a very interesting story. We'll touch on a variety of things, but talk to me where it started for you. Because was it Carl Shorten Athletic? It started for you.
Yeah, simple. So obviously, I played as a kid. Blah blah blah.
No, don't skip that part. You play as a kid. You was a half decent keeper. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I was
He
alright.
was a goalkeeper.
Yeah, when I was young, so I spent a bit of time in the academy system at various different clubs. Come back, played good level grassroots.
Yeah.
To be fair, wasn't well on the decline from through my teenage years. I wasn't as good, or was gonna, I knew I wasn't gonna play at any real
Was it
level.
the height?
Yeah, well, no, listen, I probably weren't quite good enough either,
Right.
but definitely 5'10". Do you know what I mean? You ain't gonna be a goalkeeper at any real level at 5'10".
Yeah.
But I didn't want it enough either. So from about 15, 16, I always had an interest in coaching. Always loved football. So I think I must have been about 14, 15. My sister started playing, or wanted to start playing. My mum was setting up her team at Sutton United.
There's hold on.
So-
Hang on a second. You stopped playing.
I stopped playing at I stopped playing at 18, but I was
your
I was
sister wanted to
coaching.
start?
Yeah, I was coaching. I was on the side. I was just helping out with her team, just little things. Like I had no qualification, just copying little sessions that
Is
I'd
she
learned.
younger than you?
Yeah, 16, so she's 21, so she's 6 years younger than me.
Right, and your mum was working at Sutton United?
No, she just set up her team at Sutton United. She was the first Sutton United girls team.
Really?
Because I played for Sutton at under 16s.
Okay.
So I played for Sutton from maybe 14s through to 16s.
Is your mum still there now?
No.
Okay.
She
Carl Shorten.
yeah. So
Okay.
long story.
Okay.
The obviously from a family affiliations to the guy who owns Carl Shorten, we all ended up going across. And so my sister's team went across. A lot of the boys that I played with at Sutton went and done the academy with Hayes and Paul Hartford and them people, and done their academy at Glenthorne. So I played a few games at youth team level at Carl Shorten.
Yeah.
Nothing major, just filled in really. I weren't quite good enough to play that level probably. And then I just got involved in coaching. So I had the Saturday soccer school down there. I was 16, 17, wanted to start earning a bit of money. So I started doing that, like the kids clubs. And to be fair, they put me in the age group that after a while, when I got a bit more competent, which was quite quick, I took to it quite well. So they got me working with a group that was, I suppose, like the under 6s.
Yeah.
So what they'd done was it was ready made for me to go and put a couple of teams together. So I did that. I held little trials, but I was doing the Saturday kids club anyway.
Yeah.
Held little trials, putting under 7s team together, and that was it. That was my first team. So I was either like my first year of sixth form, or going into my second year. I can't remember now, but I was doing an under 7s team and sort of overseeing the age group in the sense. I think we had 3 teams in the end. So I've done that for 7s and 8s, and by that time I think I was going off to university, and I was hitting that age where everyone that I played with weren't playing youth team football no more. They were kicking on and playing and playing first team and stuff. But obviously I knew Hayes at Carl Shorten very well, and I was interested and I loved the game. And I went and for 6 weeks went and picked up the balls, picked up the cones, filled up the water bottles at his youth team games towards the end of one season, and was like I was so lucky and fortunate because I had a mentor who was, one, there was a family connection there, but 2, he was an A licensed coach. He'd worked in the pro game. He'd done the 18s at Fulham, been at Brighton, all these places.
Ian Hazel, not just Hayes.
First team manager at Sutton for a number of years. Carl Shorten, God knows how many times. Levering, and he just talked to me and talked about football and maybe my journey or my introduction and my mentoring started at like 11 aside. Even though I was coaching young kids, it started at I was talking about the game and tactics and why you'd do a certain thing, how you'd play against a certain formation if they were doing, or if a team were playing overly direct, what would you do about it? How would you counteract it? And I just learned by conversations and watching pictures, because I was out watching. I'd watch the first team on a Saturday. I'd watch the reserves if the first team were away. 18s, I was at the games. I had Wednesdays off uni, so I went and helped with the under-19s academy side. And at a young age, at 19, 20 myself, I was working with around that area, like around that age groups. So you had my sister's team playing, so I'd go and help out with them, albeit they weren't my team. They had a manager. So my mum was running them, but I'd help with sessions and maybe take some. And then by this time, I think I'd done my one, but I was doing sessions started to do sessions with the academy and started to take my own bits. And then slowly, where the academy got bigger and Ian's Hazel commitments went elsewhere, they needed someone to go and do the youth team. And I was there as a young cheap option, I suppose, and you know, a bit of like not what you know but who you know. And I knew the boys, and I got my chance, and I was, you know, so I was doing that for a couple of years, whilst doing all the stuff for the girls. So, so I give up so whilst doing that, I think when my boys got to under 8s, I think I'd give them up because I wanted to go and work and focus on 11-a-side, or a minimum 9-a-side. And I think there was a team. So you had the age group that my sister played at that were very good and were winning leagues and cups and Surrey Cups and things like that. They had gone to 11-a-side, but the age group below had a couple of good players in it. And my mum, that team my sister played in, had a couple of girls playing up a year. So, and the whole team was going to go up a year because they'd won the league 3 times in a row. And it was getting easy, like, without being disrespectful, big-headed, it was getting too easy for them. To challenge them, they went and played up a year. But those girls that were already playing up a year, there was 3 of them, couldn't do it.
I think I remember this. Didn't I come and assist you with that younger age group?
A couple of times, definitely.
To help out.
And like, so it just was there natural. Those girls needed somewhere to go and play. There was already a couple of very good players at that age group that weren't playing up a year. So it just made sense. I took it on and put together a decent little side. And, you know, that was enjoyable because that was my real introduction to managing women's football or girls football. So I was doing the youth team on the side towards the end of it, and then I left uni, started work. Was still doing the youth team at Carl Shorten whilst doing the girls. The girls stuff was going great. Like they were producing good players. Both teams were like training together and things like that. And I think there's one year where I think in 3 years we won the nationals. Both like the futsal 5-a-side twice. And there was one day where we had the 15s playing in the 16s, and they won it, and my 14s won it the same day. And they played the final at the same time, all there together up in Birmingham.
That must have been crazy.
Yeah, it was good. Like things like that with the girls' side of the game was a great introduction for me because I got to really practice the things that maybe I was going to do with the 18s, or later on I got to trial it out and practice it to people that maybe. As they were girls, they may be more open to hearing what I had to say, or more open to taking it on board. Whilst boys and girls are very different, like try to treat them as footballers. So you try not to treat them differently, even though there's definitely different things going on, and there's things you can and can't say, or different things you have to be aware of with young girls growing up. I think it was an opportunity for me to practice things and try things and see what worked, see what didn't work. And then I just took that along with the 18s, and the 18s were going well. We had some good players, we had boys pushing on. And then that sort of come to a bit of an abrupt end one year. Like I was really wanted to go and win the league. I had a good group. I had a lot of second years. My first years were Scantz's age group at Carl Shorten. So you're Ryan Healy's, the Liam Gordons, Ramel Hunt Christie's, like them were like good age group.
Dion had
gone Peterborough. Like I think Danny Scantz and Josh Greenleaf went elsewhere, but it was a good group. I had Ryan Healy playing centre mid. I had a good group of second years anyway. So boys that had already started to get around the first team were there, and I really wanted to go and win the league. And things started to go wrong. It weren't quite clicking. Got myself sent off a couple of times, like in the technical area. You know, I was just a kid. Like as much as I was 21, 22 at this time. Probably just starting work.
Still early in your journey.
Adjusting to working full time, and running football teams on a Saturday and Sunday, and doing the youth team midweek. And you know, you're up against whether I know it's boys football, but for me, under 18s Ryman Youth League is men's football. Like it's your first introduction, and I was involved in men's football, managing a team, managing young men, and managing against some good. There's some big names in that league. Like James Brackham was in the league at the time, and people that were just wiser and smarter than me and got me to bite at things. Talked myself into trouble when maybe I bite my tongue now a bit more longer in the tooth, and it got to a point where it happened a couple of times, and the club had to sort of say to me, look. Can't do it. You can't keep doing it. So I stepped away from that, which coincided with me getting a job that meant Saturday. So any involvement I had with the men's resis, even if it was just watching, couldn't do Saturday football no more.
Yeah.
So I was just doing the girls, and by this time, that group of girls that we had were going under 16s and under 15s, so they were getting ready to go into first team football. And of course, Carl Shorten had established a decent women's setup.
Yeah.
They actually won promotion to go into the National League, but then had it taken away from them because my old man, bless his heart, didn't fill out form properly and played a suspended player, and they had that taken away from him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, the old automatic 7-day ban. So like him, I think it was Brian Edwards were doing it at the time together.
Yeah.
And then they went and they should have got promoted. They had a good side, some good players, and basically Brian stepped away. My old man took it over for a little while.
Yeah.
He's always been a coach, my dad, and I just started to get involved with that because that's where the girls were getting to. So the 16s would, when they hit their 16th birthday, we made the 16s have a big squad.
So that you could take them 16
So some of the 16s are like, there's a couple, for example, that made their debuts two days after their 16th birthday when they were still in year 11 and things like that.
Yeah.
In step 5 and done all right. And basically it was all set up for me to take on that project when it was ready. And I took it on when the oldest age group hit first years. So under 17s. So they finished their 16s journey. Took it on then, and that's when I found myself doing the ladies at Carl Shorten. So looked after them for 2 years.
How did that go in that 2 years?
Mate, this is when I think about it, it was enjoyable. It was tough.
Yeah. What
really
division
tough.
was you in?
It was London and South East Prem,
London
so it's
South
step
East
5.
Prem.
So the first year we was in it, I can't remember who won it now, but I know Corley Wass won it the second year we was in it.
Yeah.
They stonked it. I can't remember who won it the year before that, but there was a good side. So you had Phoenix, or Nat Dulwich, good side. Corley Wass, obviously look at what they've done.
Yeah.
Actonians. Good.
I think it might have been
child.
Paul Walker set up a really.
It might have been Actonians that won it. I think maybe the first year I've done it. I can't remember now.
Actonians did go into the nationals.
They did, so we had we had good players, and we had a couple of older heads. So I had Cindy, who's at Sutton now, and Tamara.
Yeah.
Like they were like my spine, but bar a couple of others.
Tamara.
Graham.
Oh my god.
Oh
my god. I played with Tamara at Croydon, and she went to my school.
Yeah.
Tamara is one of the best players I've ever played with. Tamara is hard. That girl could strike a ball
miles
from when I was like 12. I played with Tamara. Like I'm saying, she went to my school. She used to live around the corner from me as well. Tamara's one of the. Where's Tamara now?
Sutton. Her and Cindy are at Sutton.
Is she?
Yeah, they're both at
How
Sutton.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
how
so.
interesting.
I think they are. Anyway, there's a few of the girls that we had at Carl Shorten that are there now.
Yeah.
So it was good. We had a good setup. We had a reserves. The problem was it was Carl Shorten, and the girls section of Carl Shorten become my dad's baby. Obviously running that whole junior section. Scants looked after the men's.
Yeah.
My dad was looking after the girls side of things.
Yeah.
And it became his baby, and we found ourselves doing the first team, the reserve team. I think there was a time where the under-12s manager got up and walked away at some point.
Yeah, do that.
And we're looking after that, and it was just too much.
So how did it come around to? I was about to say it. The folding of Carl Shorten.
Look, I don't know why I found myself doing things on my own or not on my own, but we found things doing things between us and trying to spread ourselves too thin. Don't know why we found it hard. We started to hemorrhage players as well. So we had good players that were kicking on and going on in good places. Like we sent Holly Nichols on trial. She spent a month with Chelsea, training with Chelsea's development team 4 nights a week, and things like that. At 17, we were pushing players in the right direction. You had the girl Tia Foreman that played with us for a period of time, went across and played first team games at Palace 4 or 5 years ago when she was just coming through. And I think we started to hemorrhage a few players. We lost a couple to Cholton.
Yeah.
Decided to go and play for Cholton Development instead of playing in the first team for us. And that happened for about 3 or 4 different players. Yeah. And then we started to lose a couple of others as well. And we were trying to get 2 teams out as well. So for the 2 years I'd done it, we had 2 teams. We had a reserves and a first team. Yeah. And I was going to first team games. So I'd go to Corley Wass with 12 players, knowing that we're going to get beat. But it don't matter because they're going to win the league and we're trying to play for 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
Yeah.
But the reserves got half a chance of winning their game. They got a cup game. They got half a chance of winning. Well, we're going to send them with 14 players instead.
When I was at Lewis.
Yeah, we put a half decent reserve team out.
Yeah.
Or for example, like my under-16s keeper, from the younger age groups, the ones we looked after, she'd play in the morning up front for the 16s to help their numbers out, and then go and play golf for the first team in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's a stretch.
Like,
It's a
stretch.
Yeah,
And I stood there, and we were good. We finished fourth. I think we finished third and fourth.
Yeah.
With a team of teenagers, plus an experienced centre half. We had an experienced goalkeeper sometimes.
You've got Joe Goodwin signed for you as well.
Joe played a bit. Yeah, Joe was coming to the end. Like Joe was mustard, like when she wanted to, even if she did sit in the car with the radiator on whilst the warm up was going on, and then get out and play. Like
she had a bit about her.
Yeah, she could play. She was good with them girls. I remember there was one we played Herne Bay one day, and I had the under-16s right back playing. Joe played, Cindy, Tamara, and we had Emma Marlowe in goals. You had four non-teenagers. Laura Curtis might have played, who just turned 21 as well, probably about that time. Yeah. So you got 6 teenagers starting, and I think we beat Herne Bay 12 or 13-1. And Herne Bay were by no means no mugs. They'd been in that league for a number of years, and we absolutely on the 3G, and we just dicked them.
Yeah.
They couldn't get near us, and we had a girl. Like honestly, some of the girls I worked with, there's a girl called Breeze Carmichael. Don't play no more. It's an absolute animal. Yeah. At 17 years old, throwing people around like ragdolls. Quick, strong, powerful. Yeah. Strike it well. Nasty streak. Yeah. Holly Nichols, like, honestly, I've coached some good boys, whether I've made them as players or not. The girl's feet is one of the best feet I've ever worked with. When we were turning up to the Nationals one year, she'd never played futsal. She missed the regional qualifiers. She rolled up and she run the Nationals, top goal scorer, took the piss. And wore Air Force Ones. Do you know what I mean? Wore Air Force Ones. And she'd won the Nationals at under 16. She was the nuts. And we had all these good players, and we were still hemorrhaging people to Cholton to go and play for their reserves. Yeah. I think there's one example, like the girl went and played for Cholton, and this was before you was there, Carl, and she was on the bench for the development team most weeks. Yeah. Instead of playing for me, centre midfield in step 5. And that's where, if you want to ask me why Carl Short, we couldn't sustain it. We couldn't sustain what we were doing. We were hemorrhaging players to better places. It coincided with a couple of, because before we started that journey, they had a couple of really good FA Cup runs. They got to like 3rd or 4th round proper. And albeit it weren't a lot, the money they brought into the club covered their costs, and the subs went down a little bit. People couldn't quite afford to pay. Not hush, but we was able to support them, and the club was able to swallow maybe a little bit of a loss. The 3G starts going in. The 3G's banged out now, so all of a sudden your kick-off time's 4 o'clock on a Sunday because the club.
Which is against league rules. You have to get league.
Yeah, let's get league permission. We always got that. We weren't like, but so then all of a sudden you're almost like feel like an inconvenience. It's not. Carshall never made it feel like that. But there was other things. There was too much at the ground there. Where before it used to be Resi's youth team, first team, ladies, and then and that kind of, and then all of a sudden training become a Friday night 9 till 10 was one of your training slots. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Like we chose to have 2 slots, and that was the second slot we got. But and then all of a sudden subs start coming into it because we didn't have a couple of good FA Cup runs. And all of a sudden, then you're asking people to start paying 200, 250 a year, which for me, it weren't bad value for money. They played on a lovely pitch, trained twice a week. I always thought the level of coaching and facilities was decent. Kit, tracksuit, all things like that. It weren't what you got for the money.
To be fair, 250 is fairly cheap. What we're talking
about just now.
It weren't unfair. Like the value for money wasn't unfair, but you got to pay for Cholton for at the time barely anything. You go and pay for Millwall. Reserves,
well, a lot of them are free, isn't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I don't know for definite, but I'm just saying. Like, I imagine it's very little. You might pay for your own kit, you might not. Yeah. Depending on where you're at.
Don't pay for anything.
So you're trying to compete with them. Plus, you've got at the time Corley Wasp signing players out the National League, or have got Wales caps, and I've got a 16-year-old right back playing against Emma Plua, who's played X amount against Wales. Now, in the nicest possible way, the worst thing about that Carl Shorten thing was there was girls in there that should have gone and played National League football.
But they didn't get it.
And barely any of them didn't. Even the ones that went to Cholton didn't quite make the grade. I say Cholton all the time. There was Brightons, there was Choltons, there was Millwall, there was the multiple. Some into the RTCs and the talent centres, some into development football because they were already over 16. But we started to, as a group, to hemorrhage players, and we couldn't do it. And to be fair, I was doing it. It was one summer we worked it out. We had about 17, 18 players, so we were going to fold the reserves. And I went, the Denham job come up, and I saw it, and we used to play against Denham at 16s, and I thought, right, go on then. Like, I rung Joe Goodwin, who'd known Joe for years, good coach. We'd never really run a team together properly. Like, I'd help with stuff she was doing, she always come and help with stuff I was doing, and we went, go on, we're going to do it. Like, put our names in the hat, and I knew the chairman and the chairwoman at Denham because they had their daughter played and they had a good team at the same age group as one of the teams I looked after. So we was over there twice a year playing them, tournaments, and all that stuff. So I put my name in the hat, and we got a trial session. went over there, done the trial session, got the job, and took the job a little bit blind. So that's when I went back to Carl Shorten, and it's weird. You talk about Carl Shorten, you think you can go back and talk to a chairman or a director. Carl Shorten at the time, I walked through the door at home and went to my old man, look,
Just to
let you know, I'm done. Like, Carl Shorten can't do it no more. I'm going to go Denham, it's National League.
Yeah.
And you're having that conversation. So, it was like, it weren't the easiest thing to do.
No.
But, one of the players, kindly put their hand up and was like, I'm going to try and carry it on. And it was just, it weren't sustainable. And unfortunately, I had to do it. Like, we couldn't. And it was a shame because there was some really good players there. I think no one from there actually really went on and achieved their full potential.
I think it's definitely a shame because knowing the club, because it holds quite a space with me as well because I was there for a few years. They had a good setup there, a setup that could have progressed really well. Like your Kent footballs and your Durhams and stuff now. Like Carl Shorten's setup was actually from the outside. Obviously, a lot more because it was mum and dad. But from the outside looking in, it looked like it was set to go forward.
When Tamara was there,
yeah.
I remember rocking up to that game thinking we're going to get work today.
Yeah.
So
and that's the thing.
Shame,
and that's the thing. Like it was a killer. And I think like that year before I got involved really, when they missed out on that promotion to the National League. I don't think it was the National League. I think it was like the Prem one or
FA,
whatever.
but Premier.
There was you had your. I think that was the chance because the girls that we had coming through of real quality were getting to first team level or senior level. They probably wanted that National League football.
And had you have made that step, you'd have attracted
probably
better
kept them. They could have. If they weren't quite ready, the best ones could have gone and played first team and got that taste. The ones that weren't quite ready probably could have sat in the reserve league, the development league, and that would have been because that's what they were playing for Cholton, playing for Millwall. So it was a shame. It was heavy hard to do it, but I think it got to the point where I really wanted to be a coach, really wanted to work in football at the highest level. And I had to make the decision where it was like I thought going to Denham, stepping up a level,
was the right move.
Was the right move for me personally.
It sounded like Carl Shorten become a bit of a chore more than.
It become hard. Like I love that place. Do you know what I mean? I love that place from the first time. My first experience with Carl Shorten, God's honest truth, was Hayes. Ian had just become caretaker manager at some point. Paul the Prayer just bought the club, or he'd owned it for a couple of years. Obviously, knew my dad from when I was a kid playing up. My dad
chucked a lot of money into the club.
Yeah, he's done a great job down there now. For all the hate he got as well, and everyone knows me and Paul never necessarily agreed on everything. From when I was like 10, I remember arguing with him when I was playing for him. But he's done a wonderful job at that club, and it was like went in there, Hayes was first team manager, watching them, started to enjoy the club, and then obviously my journey there took me from doing an under-7s team right up to being on Scantz's bench when he was first team manager for a period of time and working under Matt Howard, doing the goalkeepers there.
So just moving on slightly to that Denham story, because I'm sure you'll admit it wasn't your best 6 months in football.
No, look, listen, I think I was at the time, it was an interesting one because I wanted to make this step. I thought it sounded great.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about the National League.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about it. I didn't know much about the standard. I maybe undervalued the standard a little bit, and I didn't do my background. Like I didn't. It's the first time I've walked away from Carl Shorten.
So in all fairness, that getting that job was a little bit about who you know as well, because you knew the chairman and you managed to put your name in the hat. You'd done a job at the level below, but you kind of knew the person to talk to at the right time.
Look, I had to write a football CV for the first time in my life. So I wrote a football CV. I sent the guy what I'd done. He'd seen me at work. He knew the players I knew.
Yeah.
I went over there. Joe done a trial session first because I couldn't get out of work one night.
So she sorted you out.
So she done a trial session. We all know Joe does a good session.
Yes.
I never sell myself that my sessions are the nuts, or I'll make players and all stuff. I don't. I personally think if people have played for me and tell you anything about me, I know I like to think I know how to win games of football.
Managing and coaching,
people like playing for me. You speak to the young boys that play first team football for me now that I had at youth team level.
Yeah.
They'll tell you they'll come and play for me because they like it, because it's good, because they know what they're getting, or it's worth buying into. And I think I went to Denham. We applied for it. I went over there and done a session. We sat down with them. I asked questions. I knew the girls had to pay subs. I knew what the subs were. I knew the deal. I knew where training was. I knew everything. I knew where Denham was. I'd done the drive. I'd done a couple of sessions. I agreed to take it on. what I didn't know is that they'd lost 4 or 5 first team players from the year before.
And they was ones that he was planning on keeping.
I didn't know enough about either players. I knew they'd lost some. And when it comes to the first friendly of the season, and you're looking and you're going right, okay, you're looking. I use full time as a okay. So who played last year? Who played
full time,
who how many games do you play in the first team? How many games do you play in the reserves? Looking at that, and when I see 15 goals, oh yeah, she's left. 10 goals, oh she's left.
The ones that you need.
Kaylee, Mark, the chairman, that's your daughter. She's not playing. Oh no, she's signed for Watford reserves. All right. And before you know it, this girl's on QPR. Oh, that girl's on QPR. And before you know it, I made the conscious decision because Carl Shorten was on the decline. And there was a couple of girls maybe I could have brought with me.
Yeah.
And in the end, I took 2. One of them was my sister, and that was her choice because she done a few weeks with Sam over at Kent.
Yeah.
And decided to come to Denham.
Yeah.
Under no obligations to play for there was any guarantees. She came. Girl called Jessie Mansell came, who had been out. She'd been doing the Hampshire RTC, but she'd been out for a year or so for her ACL, and then that was it. And I decided not to left didn't necessarily open it up to anyone else. Obviously, Denham was a bit of a boot. These girls that played at Carl Shorten were Cheam, Surrey, Croydon.
Yeah.
Straight they were South London girls. They're not unless they're drivers or their mum and dad love it. They ain't going to get to.
It's difficult to ask them to travel all the way to kind of Denham and then pay money at the same time, pay your subs and pay to get there.
Yeah.
I get it. I completely get
so
that.
we chose not to do it, and we thought we'd do all right, Joe. The brief, me and Joe, we thought we'd done all right. The brief was keeping them up.
Yeah.
Now it was the first time in my career I'd gone in somewhere where they didn't know who I was. So although they had a couple of sessions with me and Joe to get to know us, and then we took pre-season, albeit we had half a pre-season compared to other clubs. It was the first time that I'd gone anywhere where, so when I'd done the 18s at Carl Shorten, they got to know me because Hayes slowly introduced me.
Yeah.
And we had a whole pre-season. When I took the ladies over from Carl Shorten, a lot of them were girls that I'd already coached, or they were existing first team players who knew who I was because I was around helping out with sessions when my dad was doing it before that. So it was the first time I'd gone in somewhere where no one knew who I was, no one knew what I was about, no one knew.
How was that?
Hard, because I think people either, if you love playing for me, you love playing for me.
Yeah.
If you don't like playing for me, you don't like it. You probably call me all the names under the sun to your mates or to when you get home.
Yeah.
Because I'm not someone who has to be liked. I like to be liked, but actually all I care about is getting the job done.
Yeah.
And my exposure has been at the end of football where results are important.
Yeah.
I've never, I sort of didn't do that development piece for long. Where development was the sole goal, and if you played really well and lost 1-0 at the end of it, don't worry about it, take the positives.
Yeah.
I was about winning games of football, and I think I don't know what the setup was at Denham, but the players seemed to be on the decline.
Uh-huh.
So you're walking in, and the players that had gotten promoted to that level had done a good job of keeping them in that league. Some had gone off and left. The ones that were existing and had really been there and done it for them were either getting close to 30 or the other side of 30.
Yeah.
And we couldn't compete. Is the truth. And actually, I look back at it, me and Joe talk about it sometimes now when we talk. And when I was there for 6 months, start of the season. I think I resigned and stopped around about Christmas time.
Yeah.
And I think at the time we were second or third bottom. Obviously, the bottom 2 went down, but we was well within a chance of. I think it was Ipswich. It was Norwich, Stevenage, and someone else were down the bottom, and we were well within a chance. Luton.
Yeah.
We were above Luton, and we were about the same points as Norwich and Stevenage, and we were well within a chance. We went to Norwich and picked up a point.
Yeah.
We went to Cambridge.
So how was that managing that? Because obviously you've gone from, let's be honest, kind of when you was in the 18s and stuff at Carl Shorten, it was they had a very good squad. He was winning stuff. It was a little bit easier, you could say. And now you've got an expectation of just survive and going to games knowing, okay, yes, we want the 3 points, but we might have to nick a point here. How did you manage that?
That was never a problem for me. That bit wasn't the bit I found difficult.
What was the difficult bit then?
Difficult was just competing full stop, having the players. But also, so me and Joe, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. Maybe we didn't know. It was brilliant. For away games, you got a minibus. Oh, lovely. Brilliant. Yeah. So, we take a day off work? Yeah, take a day off work. Done the minibus licence. No, I'll drive. Sweet. Yeah. So you get over there, first away game of the season, wherever you're going, Norwich, I think it was. What you didn't know, what I didn't know, was that you had to pick the minibus up from somewhere that was a 20-minute drive from Denham's ground. So you had to drive to Denham, go and pick the minibus up, drive for 2.5 hours to Norwich, play the game, come back, drive back, drop all the girls off, then do another 20 minutes out of your way away from home, and then drive back. And look, I knew what I was getting myself into, and I thought I wanted it.
Yeah.
And I thought I wanted it. And I think I know that taste of senior football with the men at a decent level, where there was coach journeys and the camaraderie afterwards. It's a little bit different beating Norwich 1-0, or not Norwich, it was Cambridge beat 1-0 away from home on a sunny day at the end of August or start of September. Absolute smash and grab. And then you can't go and have a beer afterwards because you've got to drive the minibus home. Yeah. Or the girls don't celebrate the same way. If that was my, like, when my under-18s beat Sutton one night when we were 2-0 down at half time, we come back to win on penalties and knocked them out of the cup. They were jumping around the changing room for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like a general difference in men and women's football? Is that women's?
I think
the changing rooms are quite different, aren't they, in comparison?
I think it can be like female dressing rooms can be really quiet.
Yeah.
So like the one at Carl Shorten was just a dead quiet changing room because they were young girls, and and then the older girls we had in there were just genuinely nice people.
Yeah.
Tamara, just a lovely lady, teacher, talks well, carries herself well, good role model for those girls.
Like that. Yeah,
you know, Cindy was exactly the same, nice girl. Like there's no, and actually what it probably missed was someone in there getting hold of them and giving them a shake. Yeah. And we never had that. And then you go to Denham and we didn't really have that. And I didn't really have it. And at the same time, you know, one thing I didn't notice as much was maybe the value of I needed to spend more time in the changing room.
Did
Joe can't, yeah.
Did Joe?
No, Joe was done by then playing wise.
But because this is just touching on the change room stuff, we're not allowed in the change room obviously because we're men in this female game. Having a female in there to rile you up afterwards, like once maybe if there is a male manager, once he said his bit and he's gone, having a female coach or someone in there going, it's like I don't know. Obviously, I'm blind to the female change room. I'm not gonna lie, the women's. Because I can't go in there. I can only go in there for a certain amount, and then I've got to come out. Like when I've done Lewis under 23 men's, and you're in there the whole time, and when they win a game, jumping, everyone's laughing, they sing songs. Like that's not led through the coaches, by the way. That's just we can stay in there, so we get to experience it. Yeah. Do you think that's a bit of a loss?
Big
that
time
we can't get in there.
Yeah, because
I'm not saying we want to.
Yeah, because I've also experienced it.
Yeah.
Because I've worked in both as well. So like as a female. Working with like under 18 boys, I also can't go in the changing room. So I can just hear if they're buzzing, but I can't, or they're frustrated. I can just hear it, but I also can't go in there. Yeah. So I get it basically that you really wanna feel with your players and you can't because you can't go in there. So I think, and then from a player's point of view, being in an all-female dressing room. The manager can only spend so much time in there. So most of the time what happens is, in my experience, is that the manager kind of waits until everyone's changed and then you just get a knock on the door to say like, are you lot decent, basically? Yeah. And then when you come in, then he's like, right! Do you know what I mean? And then it can go off from there.
Hasn't it gone by that point? That
a little bit of the vibe's kind of gone, but it depends on the characters.
But both ways, because you go like, for me, the most important time for me as a manager in my now, doing what I do now at Redhill, and we'll come to how I got there obviously, but for me, the most important time is warm-up's done, they're going in, and that 3 or 4 minutes you get before the buzzer goes, so important.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not going to get anything tactical across to them, you're not, right? But some of them have had a beast in the warm-up. Some of them ain't quite at it, you can tell. Some of them are over the top and they're overexcited, and you think, well, I need to rein you back to like 2 steps, just calm me down. Yeah. And that 3 or 4 minutes of me at Denham was actually taken away from me because you can't go in the change room at that point because they're not.
Do you know what? I mean, I think that's a bit difficult because when I used to coach boys, I used to make sure that those boys are ready so that doesn't get taken away from me. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
I'm saying my girls know that they got to put their tops and that.
Everything needs to be ready because I need to come in.
But in a nice possible way, like we go to Norwich, and it's raining all day. They've done a half-hour warm-up. They're soaking wet. I wouldn't want to wear my match shirt when I've got to wear it for 90 minutes. Right. I wouldn't ask them to.
So do you think it maybe would have been beneficial for you to bring them in a bit earlier?
Maybe, possibly. And
on reflection.
Yeah, upon reflection, definitely, or something different. And I think when I look back at it, the girls at Carl Shorten, I think I got them to play for me and buy into what I was doing because I had them for a certain amount of times. Yeah. And even if it wasn't as successful at first team level as it was at junior level, the majority of them had tasted success doing what I asked them to do, and I didn't change the way I asked them to play a lot.
Yeah.
It was at this point I'd set up a thing where it was like 9-a-side to 11-a-side. At Denham, I was trying to get them to play a certain way, whilst trying to get them to compete, which was probably stretching themselves. We had a young team there at Denham, even though some of the players were aging. We had the rest of them were young. So the goalkeeper 17, right back 17, one of the midfield players 17, 18, wide player, and we didn't. We were doing all right. At one point, we were like 4 or 5 points from 7 games. We were fine, and then it started to get tough. And then, to be fair, where it all went wrong at Denham for me was we were doing okay, even if it was a struggle, even if it weren't quite right, and maybe was not the best move personally upon reflection. I think we'd have been all right. But then there was an FA Cup game, and the reserves at Denham, when the first team reserves were at home, the reserves played in the morning and got the special agreement from the league, and the reserves played at 2. And the reserves played in the morning at 11. We had Crawley Ross in the FA Cup, right? And I got a phone call. I live an hour and a half drive. It was to Denham, on average, probably an hour and a half on a bad run. And I woke up and it's been raining all day Saturday. It's been raining Saturday morning. Ring Mark the chairman. Yeah, we called the reserve team game off. All right, sweet. And he went, "Oh, you'll be all right." I went, "What? So there's puddles on the pitch, and you've called off my
Resi's game.
You called off the Resi game, so the first thing game's off as well, right?" He's like, "Well, why don't you drive up and check it?"
Why don't you drive up and check it?
No. Like, and that's that, and maybe he didn't mean it like as in you drive and check it, but almost like give it a chance. I was like, absolutely not. I had a couple of players out injured. I think I had someone moving down to. That was it. I had two the girls that were moving to uni. It was moving in day.
Yeah.
So I was 2 or 3 players light anyway. We're playing Crawley Ross in the FA Cup. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. If you're going to play Crawley Ross in the FA Cup, you want to play them on a dodgy pitch, which Denham was, on a rainy day, and you want to make it horrible for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
you want a 10:30 a.m.
right? So we were 2 o'clock kickoff, and I went, "No, we'll call it off." And he went, "Oh, if that's what you want to do." I went, "Yeah." And of course, by this time, my mates had set up a Sunday team. He's like, "Oh, we need a player." All right, put the boots on. 80 minutes in, bang, crack on my leg, like agony, screaming pain. I broke both bones in my leg. Had to have a big operation. Was off work for a week. So then all of a sudden, I need to get to Denham. Albeit I'm doing it with Joe, but me and Joe don't live next to each other. Joe lives in Croydon, and I live in Stoneleigh. So
where?
Like Epsom.
Oh, okay.
So I live in Epsom. Yeah. Joe was living in Whiteleaf, Croydon at the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we need to get to training twice a week and all around the country on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And that was a big burden on Joe. I'm on crutches, so I'm trying to run a dressing room where I'm probably struggling slightly to get them to buy into my ideas. Possibly for whatever reason, maybe we didn't click. Maybe I was different and they didn't quite take to me because they certainly took to Joe. And
I've had the same dressing room. It's
what were they take to the female?
Where they've taken to
the female.
Female more than they've taken.
But Joe's good. Does that make sense?
Joe's
such a good coach.
Take nothing away from Joe. She's a very good coach. I've worked with her as well.
But for whatever reason, and I did have that connection.
Do you take that personally as a man?
What, that they don't connect with us?
I didn't take it personally. I just found it difficult to do what I was good at. So me and Joe knew exactly what we was buying into. She done the sessions. Her sessions were good. They were tempo, on the ball, blah blah blah. The motivational piece, the tactical piece, the stopping the opposition doing certain things, come from me because that was where my strengths lied. And we knew what we were trying to put together, and it just didn't, for whatever reason, it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
And it was hard. Like it was like nicest possible way at Denham. Look, I'm a heavy man. I was lighter then than I am now, but I'm on crutches with a double leg fracture, hopping across Denham in October. To
groggy.
When it's groggy on my crutches trying to take the team, and it become too much, and it become unenjoyable. We started to get beat. The attitude changed a little bit from the club as well. Like it was my fault that I broke my leg. And
do you know what? Do you reckon that happened because you called the game off when they didn't want you to? And you broke your leg the same day. Playing a match.
Carl, in a nice possible way. I live 45 miles away.
I don't disagree with what
happened. Common sense. If the game's off at 10:30 and it's still raining, the game should be off at 2. Now I get it. I'm not Mr. Denham, and I don't know how quickly that pitch dries. And that was their point. They know it dries in 15 minutes. But my point was, well, it actually suits us.
Oh no, I'm not disagreeing with your decision.
And I think it was. I think there was a little bit of like they thought I'd come in and do more than what I was doing.
Yeah.
I think they thought the players were maybe better than what they were.
Yeah.
And the truth was the players weren't quite good enough, and it proved that because after we left, they won 1 game.
Yeah.
Don't really, they didn't win many when we were there, but we picked up more points in the time we were there than what our points per game anyway. We weren't there like.
And you're unpaid at Denham.
Unpaid, not a penny. Like, which was fine. Listen, I've not been paid to coach anywhere other than when I done the fun stuff at Carl Shorten on a Saturday morning. Yeah. The holiday camps.
Oh, really?
Never taken a penny from a football club I worked for, other than that. For nothing. Anything first team at Carl Shorten I've done, nothing. All for the
When
love.
you think about the experience that like you have as a coach in the different clubs that you've worked at, but all of these jobs are unpaid. It's crazy to think about it, really. It's
like
mad.
Still getting now to this day though.
Yeah,
But I don't think I've ever asked for a penny.
Mm.
Like, I think there was a time when probably I could have gone and knocked on the door at Carl Shorten and said, look, I'm not being funny, I'm a uni student and I'm driving 4 players to a youth team game. Like, any danger.
Do you think that can make
and they probably would have put their hand in their pocket.
Yeah.
But because it was Carl Shorten was my club, so I never did it. Because I would have done it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I would have done it regardless.
free. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I didn't bother, and I felt privileged to be there.
Yeah.
And whether I'd earned the right to stay there for the time that I did,
Yeah.
I felt lucky to be in that position. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
because who at 20 gets to lead a Ryman youth team game on their own.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like, and that was how I felt. But it was, so Denham, like, it was difficult because we started to sign players. So that Holly Nichols girl I'll tell you about, like, Manny, she just, I would have brought her with me at the start, but she'd done her ACL, and it was like, she gradually got fit, got back into it. Her and Roshan Hall both come back from injuries, and Rocky.
I saw when you signed her.
Rocky could play, man. You know, looked like she was laying down the whole time when she was playing football, and she was half asleep. But what a player on her day when she wanted to be. And signed them. It's halfway through the season. We're rock bottom of the league. Well, we're one of the bottom. Yeah, you got there £150. Yeah, I'll sort it out. But I was driving. Me and Joe for their subs. And Joe was driving. Joe was driving out of her way to pick Holly up to come and get me to get to a game, and she played 2 games before she done her ACL again, and she was our best player. Yeah. And it was like that's what you were fighting, that battle of the
There's
club.
just too much being asked of you. It's being stretched.
Maybe. And look, listen, the people at that club were very good people.
Oh yeah.
Like, and they're nice people and they're good football people, and I think it was a great opportunity to go in there and have a go at National League level. Yeah. And for whatever reason, that experience pushed me back into the men's game. So it made me realise that maybe there was a reason that the girls at Carl Shorten took to me, and it might have been because they had longer to mould to me and understand me and not take maybe some things I said personally or understand what I mean. Where maybe I said things at Denham, and I think it was like, for example, everyone knew my surname was Harrison Williams. Everyone knew that Eloise played centre midfield, and her name was Eloise Williams. Right? And it took till game 4 for someone to go, well, you two are brother and sister. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, whoa, there's no way my brother could talk to me like that. And it's like, okay.
What's
it
it
like?
like?
It's like we're trying to create a divide between you and your sister.
Like? I always treat her. I give her
the hardest.
Because if I can talk to her a certain way, and her attitude is to head up, bang, sleeves up, go again. Then if I talk to you half that way, then
it's gonna look like you're favouritising her.
No, but it's not just that. It's about making a point as well.
Yeah, so it's
I'm
hard.
not treating her any different.
No, yeah. If I'll talk to her like this. If I say to her this and that ain't good enough, when she's a 7 out of 10. If I ask you politely for more when you're a 7 out of 10, then I'm not treating. There's no favourites in this team, and I can ask more of you. And it was actually something that she always understood, and it was probably hard because, and maybe something she found hard going up elsewhere was that. And also, like, I think back to it at Denham. When I did the youth team at Carl Shorten, no one liked me. Yeah. Right. Other managers probably thought, this cocky little git, man. Like, I had a little swagger in my step. And obviously I'd learnt the hard way by losing that job, by getting sent off, by getting in trouble, by not biting my tongue. That I went completely the opposite way. Too much. And maybe was too frightened to upset people. Because I'd tested the waters a little bit at Denham, and there were maybe crocodile tears, or there was someone upset, or there was a sulk and I didn't get the reaction. And what I knew was, if I'm not getting a reaction doing it, I'm not going to keep doing it. Yeah. And maybe what I needed to do was find a way of breaking through. But
do you know what? Just what you said a minute ago, that might have pushed him back into the men's game. I'll be honest. After my little experience, I went back into the boys. I went to boys. I'm going to go to the men's. I went to the boys game with Phoenix Sport. That's very brief and no one really knows about because it literally, I went from Worthing to Phoenix to Charlton. You do get that feeling like when it doesn't work the way you thought it might work at a certain club, you do get that feeling of, is it me?
Yeah.
And when you think, is it me, and you think maybe I'm not cut out for that.
Yeah.
kind of thing, and then you try and go somewhere else and it works somewhere else. And when I went to Phoenix, it worked very, very well. I was very upset when I said I was leaving to go to Charlton, but the fact it worked there, in my head it was like, do you stick around in this the industry now, or do you go back to where?
I think it's a mentality thing as well, Carl. So go back to the girls and the boys, and look, there's elite mentalities out there in female sport and male sport.
Yeah.
But the competitive edge, I think there was times at Carl Shorten and at Denham where, as long as they're having fun,
they didn't mind too much.
They didn't mind too much. As long as they're playing, they didn't mind too much.
Yeah.
Where you go to like, you know, when I was doing the 18s, first team football now, winning mattered.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe what got the best out, when I look back at it, weren't me as a coach. I hadn't lost my touch. I hadn't lost my mojo. Truth it was, what got the best out of me was being able to go in sometimes and maybe raise my voice slightly to cheer people up, maybe be a bit more tactile in terms of grabbing hold of someone and celebrating a win or praising someone with a massive pat on the back, like, you know, like maybe things that you couldn't quite do as easily or as naturally in the female game. As a male in the female game, it's not as natural, like, you know. And do I thrive better when, all right, there's only 70, 80 people watching you at Redhill, but there's 70, 80 people there, and out of those 70, 80, 50 of them are clapping you off the pitch when you won a game.
Yeah.
And maybe that got the best out of me in that dressing room, going away from home where, you know, and things like that. And I think, so Denham come to an end. It wasn't my best 6 months in football. Probably weren't the best 6 months of my life.
How did it end?
If I'm honest, like, hand on heart, I told them that my work commitments had increased, and that was my excuse to get out. So I landed them a bit in water, really, and tucked Joe up a little bit. So, love Joe. Apologies, I think we got over it now, but
Did she stay there after?
For a couple of weeks, yeah.
Stayed there for a couple of weeks.
And it was hard. Like, it was hard. I didn't want to. I didn't want to give up on it. But I was getting out of work early twice a week. My career weren't quite going the way it needed it to go.
Yeah.
And something had to give. And to be fair, I just got back on 2 feet and was walking again, so I had a bit of freedom. It weren't really what I wanted to do. And I thought I'd jump ship early. And literally, the worst bit was that I texted Mark, the chairman, to let him know, and I called him, and apologies, I don't think he was very happy. He didn't sound very happy anyway. And then 3 weeks later, Barry got the job at Redhill. So Gavin... And I had been at Redhill as reserve team manager briefly whilst doing the girls at Carl Shorten, just looked up for a little while. And so Barry asked me to come in and join him as first team coach, assistant, whatever you wanted to call it. There was 3 of us. So I was with, and literally it flashed up on Twitter, like a picture of me with the Redhill, and obviously he messaged me like, I thought you worked, and I was like, weren't my finest hour. I didn't really take the man's way out of that one. I didn't say it with my chest.
That's unlike you, to be fair.
It is unlike me, but I felt, do you know what? It's the first time I failed. Do you know what I mean? Like, as a coach, first time I failed. I weren't going to win. My heart weren't in it. I didn't really believe in the project, because if you'd kept them up, you might have had an easier job next year.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think
it was going down.
It was unfortunate. But unfortunately, I couldn't see them staying in that league for much longer.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get better as a coach without those experiences, though.
No.
I don't think you can learn without.
So you're right. You need it. You learn more there than you have in your other jobs. Believe it or not, because
probably.
you realised.
Or for me, my failures.
Yeah.
So flying with Carl Shorten 18s, 3 or 4 boys from that group made it into the first team. So Ryan Healy, Liam Gordon, gone and had a really good career at Dagenham now. Liam. Josh Phillips was flying at one point at Carl Shorten. She had 3 or 4 of them playing regularly. So Josh and Ryan both got Ryman South medals. Yeah. Come from my youth, like played in my youth team.
Yeah.
And to have to walk away from that group because of my own actions taught me loads.
Yeah.
Taught me loads. And then going to Denham, failing, made me rethink how I carried myself, how I behaved, how I conducted myself. So big difference, I suppose.
I mean, I'm just gonna ask because I'm just nosy. Like, what kind of stuff was you getting sent off for?
So the first time I got sent off, I was where was he? He was Woking away, so played at Knapp Hill.
Yeah.
You ever been to Knapp Hill? Big horrible hill.
Yeah.
Woking are either mustered in the Conference Youth Alliance League, or they're mustered in the Ryman Youth League. One or the other. They put their best. They pick one, and they alternate years.
Yeah.
And this was the year where they had a really good side in the Ryman. So you had Sutton, who were one of the favourites to win it. It was the year Met Police
Just
went.
the kids.
Yeah,
So
18.
was Charlie Carter playing for Woking at the time?
No, Charlie Carter was the third year.
As a third year, so he was playing with the first year.
Yeah. But Charlie was probably on loan at Chipstead that year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they had a good side, right? End of. I had a good side, and we were doing all right. And we were away to Woking, and I just went for it. I had 2 centre forwards that could play, and I went, we're going to go 4-4-2, bang, go for them. And we absolutely wiped the floor of them.
Yeah.
We were mustard. They couldn't get a kick, and somehow we go in at half time 1-1, and then we go 2-1 up. Ryan Healy scored, and I think Josh Phillips must have missed about 3 1-on-1s, and the game was getting tighter and tighter because you couldn't batter them for a full 90 minutes. No way, they were going to have a 10-15 minute spell.
Yeah.
And we was entering the last 5 minutes, and Josh has gone round the keeper, and he's basically tried some stupid flick to end the game, right? And he's ended up fouling someone, and obviously I got the ump, innit? And the keeper spun the ball out in front of him and just larruped it, and I've gone, it's a moving ball. And for some reason I just went, it's a moving ball, you fucking ice cream.
What?
Like, I don't know why it come to my head. Don't know why I said it, but they must have heard me like the whole
Ice cream, you know.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why. Like it just come to my head. It weren't. And I was like, and obviously they've gone through. They've gone in the post.
Yeah.
And they should have scored. And honestly, the ball was travelling. Like there was no like tight about it.
Still passionate about it now.
And the geezer come up to me, and he went, like, I've got to send you off. And I was like, I'll hop over the fence. He went, no, down the tunnel. I went, mate, we're in the 89th minute and it's Knapp Hill. He went, yeah, what do you see how far away those change rooms are? Like, do you know what I mean? And I was so het up on winning because I had those kids.
Yeah.
We had a good year the year before. We were in the title race. It's November.
Yeah.
This puts us above Sutton. We've been unbeaten. I think.
So the year before, did you have the Ben Marshalls?
Rob Tanner.
So my group. That moved up.
So Ben Marshall played a few games. We had Rob Tanner.
Yeah.
Very good player. A few. There's a few good players, and then obviously the first years at the time was Josh Phillips' and then they become second years.
So you had a size lot that come up and my lot that had come up.
Yeah, and then
yours.
But then we had Scances. So Ben Marshall's what we've done.
Which was size age as well.
Yeah.
So you had my age that was the second years and size and.
I think so, possibly.
And Scances that was the next one.
So like that second year of doing it, like we wanted to go and win things, and we had a right old go.
Very good squads.
Yeah, you know, we had some good players, proper good players, and it was you wanted to achieve something, you wanted to make a name for yourself,
100%.
and I got het up in, you know, and I think by the second and the shortlist, I served a little touchline ban for that. We were still in the title race, and then we played a Surrey Cup game against Croydon, and to be fair, that one kicked off. Like the geezer obviously knew what he was talking about. The geezer knew how to wind me up. We should have been out of sight and beaten them, and I let my frustrations get to me, and I bit at him. And we got myself sent off, and that then escalated because we lost on pens. It all went off down the tunnel, and really, to be fair, by this point, I was trying to play peacemaker.
We had handbags in the tunnels.
Yeah, and I tried to play peacemaker really between some of the boys, and obviously the ref seen it. I'm supposed to have been sent off, and then I think I served a little touchline ban for that. And the worst one, honestly, I really learned. I was on my last chance. Like I couldn't muck up, and I think we were playing Chipstead and the kid went down injured, and he was holding his knee, and their manager shouted, "It's a head injury, ref." Right? And we're about to score. We're 3-on-2. We're about to score, and the ref blew his whistle and brought it back, and I just laughed, innit? And I went, "Oh, you're a wally, like you've been sold." And he heard me call him a wally, and he sent me off, and that was it.
Wow, I mean, ice cream and wally, I've heard a lot worse.
So you're wrong. Ice cream I had to go for, and this was my point. This was my point in the youth league, right? I remember, and I've got no problem saying this. I've got no qualms about it, right? You played Sutton. You go and play Sutton. Sutton were the best team in the youth league. They haven't been beaten for a certain time. You go and play them. They give you a 7:30 kick-off. It's at Banstead. No one can get to Banstead unless they drive because there's no train stations anywhere. It's cold. The pitch is horrible. It's one of the worst places to go to. There's probably a hole in the floor. Like the taps don't work. The lights don't work in the change room. You get there right? And James Bracken stood there, and what a coach he is, by the way, and what a job in non-league football. Like someone I actually really look up to and admire, and love, like pitting my wits against. And he stood there smiling, shaking every referee's hand, and you know he's going to call them every name under the sun for the next 90 minutes. You're going to be 1-0 up, and they're going to get a penalty for nothing.
Yeah,
and you know that. And I was the new kid on the block that had, I don't care, I'm going to upset you. And I remember we went to Sutton, and I had the big boom box, and Ivan, who played for me, used to run the boom box. And we were 2-0 up at half time, flying. Flying. I'd put it on at half time, full volume. Put it to.
Do you know what? I don't know if you've noticed yet, but I noticed from the little time that I was in and around non-league and combined counties, youth league and those kind of leagues. I feel like a lot of these managers, spend more time trying to get in your head rent free than they do giving tactical information to the players.
To be honest, it wins. It
wins games. But it works.
Jose Mourinho has done it for years.
Sometimes
Punching a manager in the face when he says hello and stuff. It takes.
Why are you touching me?
Yeah.
Sometimes it worked for me, and I had a little chip on my shoulder and a little bit of sort of swagger about me. Where I had that innocence of I'd not failed yet, so I felt a bit invincible. And then I started to, and then obviously it started to get away from me. We weren't winning as many games as we should have done. That title was getting away. That Croydon game was getting knocked out of the cup. And in the grand scheme of things, me calling him an ice cream and calling him a wally, by the time I called him ice cream, I had to get sent off for because I shouted it. The whole ground hurt me. And to be fair to the ref, he went, everyone's heard that, and I was like, but by the time I got to Wally, I was sat in my chair. I was sat in the dugout at Carl-Shorten. I think I had my legs folded for some reason.
The dugout's deep, you know.
Yeah,
deep that dugout is Carl-Shorten.
And I just had to take it on the chin, and obviously it come to an end, and I had my time out of football, and so I had to learn from that, and learning from that and Denham. When I got the opportunity to go back to Redhill, look, I was just an assistant and a coach. Barry had his ideas, and I sat there, and we had a tough couple of years under Barry, really. Yeah. And I could have walked away at any time, and I just sort of bided my time. I enjoyed being around it. I knew some of the players. I had a say. If I could get a player in or two, I could get them in and help out. And I believed in the project. Yeah. And obviously being at Redhill for 2 years or 18 months, and then getting the opportunity to come in as caretaker when that come around. By that time, I already had an affiliation to some of the players.
So how did you feel about that? Getting caretaker at a very young age, because you're still young now. You're the youngest one here. You're 27, just turned.
Yeah.
So you're a very young manager. That's difficult in itself. How did you feel? Like, what was going? I know you'd been around it, but it's different being around it as a coach and being like there's someone ahead of you, or being a Ryman Youth League manager of under 18s when you're older than them. How was it when you? Because obviously you had players older than you in the women's game, but you also had Jo as well. So she was an older head as such. Now you're kind of 27, got older players. How?
No, the thing is that when we played against each other for Redhill, you had quite a young squad, didn't you?
We do. We had a really young squad. I think our oldest player is 25. No, our oldest player is probably my year, 26, 27.
So how was that? Do you consciously do that, or is it subconsciously?
Listen, that was the squad that Barry put together.
Oh, really?
I took it on. We've lost one player from when Barry left. Yep. Was a lad called Evan when he signed for SCR. We kept him for a little while, and then the seventh day I come in and
he's gone. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So you haven't really changed much then.
No, I signed a couple of players. But I was around it with Barry, so we sit down and write a list, and people everyone's different, and my job was to assist Barry. But my thought process was when we've just been knocked out the FA Vase by Rains Park at home. We're 6 defeats in 6 in the league, or 5 defeats in 5, something like that. Yeah. And we've just been knocked out by Rains Park, and you're Redhill. Redhill's got a expectation they should be a top 7, 6, 5 team in that league, and should be beating your Rains Park, even though you're the same level. Yeah. The players are on the floor. Barry walks in and resigns.
Oh really?
And walks out, and that was that. And
did you know about that?
No.
So it literally hit you on the.
So my attitude, I went into default mode because some of these boys I'd taken to the club. Yeah. So Aidan Brown, the centre forward, I went and got him from SCR. Yeah. And said, come play. Yeah. So other people had stayed because I said, Jack was my youth team goalie at Carl-Shorten. Yeah. Had the chance to go elsewhere in the summer, and we had a conversation. It was like, look, and I'd done my bit to try and, I really wanted it to succeed. Yeah. And I went into default mode, and for me, my biggest reactor is the people. So that's my biggest motivator. So when you walk through the door and Peter Gates there, as we call him in his 80s, and he shakes your hand as you walk through the door, nothing's better than seeing Peter Gate go home with a smile. Yeah. That's who you do it for, really. Do it for yourself because you love it, you love the buzz, and you do it for the boys that you have a buzz with. But actually, who you do it for is the people you see around the place. And in non-league football, they tend to be older gentlemen or older people. But that's brilliant. When I was at Carshalton, there was a lad called Chris Blanchard down there. And he used to come and ask me how the youth team get on. Never got to watch me play a game, but he used to see me at the first thing and say, how the youth team get on? Saw you beat Sutter, saw you beat Leverett, brilliant. Like, and it was like, and they were the people that they give me a bit of motivation. So all I thought about was, we're in the mess. No one knows what's going on with COVID. We need to get out of this. And I just sat there and I stood to the dressing room. I was like, right, no one knows what's going on. Barry's gone. Right, fine. I went, oh, tell me now, if it's me and there's a guy called Kopi in the dressing room, I was like, if it's us, for Wednesday, we've got Colliers Wood, will you get in and train on Tuesday? And out of the squad of 16, I think 14 hands went, I'll be here. And the 15th hand went, I'm working, but I'm fine. Yeah. So I went home. I didn't. I went down the pub. And I went down and I had a couple of beers and relaxed and dissected with a couple of players. And the phone went and it was like, right, you and Kopi are going to look after it for us for the next couple of games. Yeah, no worries. Right, can I have the pitch for training Tuesday, Mr. Chairman? Yeah, you can. Yeah. Brilliant. And I got in. And we had good players. We were sharp going forward. Yeah. Really sharp, young, hungry boys. And for some reason, under the lights or under the pressure, they were freezing. And I just wanted to simplify the game. I'd done a session all in the final third. And I've just done patterns, and it was like triggers. If you get an overlap, do this. If you don't get an overlap, do this. Can we get this midfield run? Because I just identified, we played all this good football, all these good attackers, and you get in the final third, and there's one person in the box. You ain't going to score goals. Yeah. Bodies in the box, bodies in the box, bodies in the box. And I've always been someone who's got attention to detail around set pieces. Yeah, so not just what you do with the set pieces, starting positions, how do you stop counter-attacks, throw-ins. Throw-ins is one of the biggest set pieces for me. Yeah. And not even about winning the first, it's not about winning the first one, it's about winning the transition. Yeah. So when the ball goes bang, 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 who's the one that lands it and plays? Yeah. Yeah. When Combine Counties, it goes back and forth 7 times. Who's the one that brings it down their chest on the 8th and plays? Yes. And are you set up to make sure, one, you can head it back and forth or kick it back and forth, but then be good enough and know when to. And I do loads of stuff around that, and the throw-ins and second balls, and if you don't win the first one, and I went through all that with them. And I just went through it. Like, we've got starting at Redhill, we've got starting positions. I sound stupid, pathetic, but we don't play out from the back, right? Because sometimes you can't, right? Yeah. And for most time you can't. But we have set positions and we have set plays from goal kicks. Yeah. So ones where we try and get out, even though we're going longer, we're trying to set ourselves up so if we can't win the first one, can we play off the second one? And that's what we try and do. Yeah. So I just done that. I didn't overthink. I just went go and play. We went to Colliers Wood and we were 3-0 up after half an hour, and I was like, oh, this first team management lark's easy. 65 minutes, 3-3, and they should have just had a penalty. I'm like, oh. I'm on the floor, like I'm punch drunk. And then to be fair, like I got good players. Like I said, Evan Lopez, rapid, like one of the best wingers in that league by a mile. And we've got this little lad come on. People, if you know youth team football, you'll know he's a lad called Daniel Iqbal. He's about 5'1", and he's come on. Jack's made a save from a corner, and he's broken it. He's running and he's laid it off. It's gone on to Evan. He's laid it off, and we're in. And Kingy squared it to Aidan, and he's rolled it in the empty net, and that's it. I've gone. I've not run for 2 years since I broke my leg. 70 yards down the hill at Colliers Wood. 20-man pile up. The whole bench has gone.
That's the moment you live for.
And the moment you live for. Yeah. And that day and that night, my missus had never come to watch a game of football. Hates football. Come watch with her little brother. I'm absolutely fizzing. The pubs are still open. Like me, I don't want to go home till Wednesday. Wednesday night for me, that's me done till Saturday's kickoff. Yeah. Like I'm gone. Wait, you're right, coming home. But the buzz, it was unreal, and it just went from there. Yeah. And we had a couple of good wins. I think when I was caretaker, so we beat Colliers Wood, lost to Camberley away. But at this point, I was mismatching. I was still lacking a couple of players.
Camberley's a good side though.
Camberley all right. Hard place to go. Yeah. We was in we shot ourselves in the foot, and then I think I had a nice easy one against Bagshot, which they ain't very good in the cup, winnable. And then I think the 4th game as caretaker. And by this point, I knew Redhill had interviewed Craig Lewington. Yeah. So I'm waiting for an interview, but I know they've interviewed Craig Lewington. Well, nice possible way, Craig Lewington guarantees a top 6 finish in the Combine Counties because he'll bring his players with him that he had at Molesey that he finished top 6 with. Yeah. He'll get them to play for X amount because they play for him, and they'll finish 6th, and he'll play centre midfield, and they'll be a decent side. And I was just didn't think I was going to get it. And then we played CB Hounslow, and at that point it must win. Redhill are on 3 points, CB are on 6. We're currently still bottom. You know what I mean? We need to start winning games, and we pulled out. We played really well, 1-4-1. And all of a sudden, you're 3 wins out of 4. I've gone into my interview, and to be fair, I wanted that job. Yeah. I didn't know I wanted it. I just wanted to help the people out. I wanted to do it for the people, and I wanted that job. And I just we put a presentation together. Me and the guy who assists me now, Kopi. We put a big.
Did you have flexibility to bring in who you wanted?
Yeah. Kopi was already there, so he was already there as a coach around the first team. So I kept the first team management the same. Literally, if Barry was the manager, there was 4 of us helping him. We all just almost slid up one.
Okay. So you've got a team of 3 now.
So it's 4 of us. So it's Barry plus 4 helping him. So now it's just me plus the 3. So I've got Anthony who does the goalkeepers.
Oh, so there was 5.
Yeah, it was 5 in total.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah,
so Barry was the manager, I was his assistant, and then Kopi and Charlie were like coaches. Charlie runs the under-18s at the moment. Yeah. As well, so he's there, and then Ant does the goalkeepers. Very good goalkeeper coach. So I had the team in place, I had the players in place, and I just knew, and it was awkward because you're trying to, you need players. Yeah. But also I care about the club. I don't want the club to be in the stick, and I'm going, well, I want to go and get a player from Cobham. I can go. We need a centre half. I want to go and get a centre half. Yeah. I can go and get one, but I can't put the 7-dayer in because I know they've interviewed Craig Lewington, and Craig Lewington's currently playing centre midfield for Cobham. So Craig couldn't sign himself for another 28 days if I put 7-dayer in. And your hands are tied, and you're going there, and I had 3 teenagers. I've got 3 teenagers at fullback now anyway. Yeah. But I had an 18-year-old right back playing centre half, and an 18-year-old centre back playing right back away at Camberley. An 18-year-old left back.
It's a tough ground.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like you're going there with 6 teenagers in the starting lineup. You struggle, and there was battles there, but we were a good side, and I believed in it. And I believed in the project so much that I didn't let nothing get in my way of getting that job and give it my all. And then obviously got the job, and I was like, marvellous. And I looked at our first fixtures, having been named manager. It was SCR away, Leverhead away in the Surrey Cup, Shearwater away, and Knaphill away. Yeah. And it's like, they are not easy. Like, Knaphill are top 6, top 7. Yeah. Shearwater is, even though they play on the carpet at Woking, that is a struggle. Because no matter what, whether it's August, December, raining, sunny, snowing, you have got a game on your hand. They will run you for 90 minutes. Yeah, like, and I just thought, this could be the worst 4 games ever to take over. I went to SCR, and when you go to SCR, you can be good and get beat 4-1. And we were good and got beat 4-1. But we were good, like, we gave them a game, and they knew it. And I was like, that's all right, I brushed that one off. And I went to Leverhead, and Aidan Brown, a centre forward, drops out. He's got a niggle from Saturday. I want to save it for Saturday. That's more important, Gaffer. Yeah, I get it. So I've gone there, real light, a little bit of a lightweight squad. You're playing Leverhead, and you get there, and you look at the programme, and you look at the team sheet going, right, have they left anyone out? Oh, they've changed the goalkeeper, no big deal. Oh, the 2 centre forwards have played loads, the 2 centre halves. And all you see that there's 7 players starting that played out of their squad of 16, 14 of them were in the squad the day before. Or Saturday before.
I've got to take this, you know, you might have to pause this.
Keep talking.
And I was like, oh, it's going to be tough. Yeah. And we got there, and we went 1-0 up, and I was like, well. And Nicky Ball's the manager as well at Leverhead. And obviously, I'm a Brentford fan, and Nicky Ball played for Brentford for a year. Yeah. And then it all gets a bit leery, and there's a bit of back and forth, and I'm like, I fancy a bit of this. Like, this is a bit of us, and we're in it. And then we give away a penalty, it's 1-1. And then there's 600, because Leverhead obviously ain't playing much, there's 600 people there, sold out. And I've never managed in front of 600 people before, and the atmosphere is getting louder, and we're giving them a game. And we go on to win the game 3-2, and it was like, it was one of my best. Bear in mind, I've done the National League, winning the national finals and football. Yeah. That was by far one of my best moments in football.
Getting leverage.
Because they're 2 leagues above us. Yeah. They're, in the nicest possible way, and I'm not just saying this. I went there with no centre forward. Yeah. So I played my centre forward. I played my centre midfield player captain up front. 3 teenagers in the back 4. Yeah. 2 apart from 1 player, that's all under the age of 23. And we went and turned them over in their backyard when they had a first team out, near enough. They rotated, no doubt about it. It was slightly weaker. Yeah. And to go there and do that, and it just so happened that some of my mates like football, the grounds are all shut. Yeah. They come and watched. The committee were there. And before you know it, like my family come. And there's probably more people there watching Redhill, and the atmosphere was bigger and pumped up more in that moment than I'd experienced maybe even at Redhill for the whole time I was there.
Would you say you did it against the odds as well? You're saying on the day you went there without a striker.
Listen, they hit a bar, they hit a post, keeper pulled off a couple of worldies. They could have beat us 7-3. Yeah. They could have smashed but they missed. And when we got chances,
we scored. Chances, isn't it? You take chances, you win.
I don't describe it. They were mid-table in the Ryan in the Bostic Prem, or whatever you want to call it now. That Isthmian Prem. We were bottom or second bottom at the time in the Combine counties with young kids. The squad, I hadn't been able to sign anyone yet. The only player I signed 2 players. Harrison Street, who played in that was that age group. Yeah. and had played for me in the reserves at Redhill, and I brought him into the first team to help out. They'd done me a favour, really. And Josh Phillips, who had had a couple of years out of the game.
So when did you know that you got the job?
I got a phone call. So we beat CB Hounslow on the Saturday, and I got a phone call the middle of that week. So I just done my interview, and he was like, "Can you come back and meet us on Wednesday night?" And I was like, and I looked at my phone, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm going for dinner with Leah and her dad and her stepmom," and I was like. And I was like, "We moved that dinner." And she was like, "Yeah, all right."
So you had to tell your missus.
So yeah.
To move everything.
So, listen, she's very understanding, but I got it in the ear hole, or it was coming. As I went up there and met the committee again, and they offered me the job there and then. And did I expect it? Like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
But we were playing well. We won 3 games out of 4. They had to give it to us, and then so we beat Leatherhead, and it was like probably one of the club's biggest wins in a period of time. And it was a significant win.
Yeah.
And then obviously went into lockdown, which was the best thing. Which was the best thing ever that could have happened. At the time, I was gutted because I was like, "Give me a game Saturday. I don't want to stop."
Yeah.
But it gave me time where I've been named manager. My 7 days had gone out,
Yeah.
so I then had a month to tie up my 7 days with who I wanted, and we had a month to build. And we'd done enough to pull out the bottom couple, or we were starting to pull away.
Yeah.
And so I spent the month. All the players had individual training programs.
Yep.
To keep them fit. Got my players signed when target the centre half, target the centre midfield, and I'd looked at it, and because it's about winning games, right? And it is about we were first team manager of a football club where the expectation is to win games of football.
Yep.
And my mentality was it wasn't about who's the best player. It's who do I trust? Who do I know that I can trust to come and do a job for me?
Yeah. And
I went and got a centre half that I'd never spoken to before. I just seen he'd captain Spellform for the last 3 years. Went and got him.
Yeah.
Put the 7-dayer in. Spoke money. Very reasonable. Done. Easy signing. And then there was a lad who I'd played against as a kid. And I think this is the thing about being a young manager now, is everyone says you're a bit young, but everyone I played with at my age that were good, that plays at that level, is now 26, 27 in their prime.
The thing is that I've spoken about this before, because when I was at Tooting Beck, the first team manager there is your age.
Yeah.
Now, I think if you think about it, when did you first start coaching? I'm sure you said 16,
17, 17. Yeah.
So I'm sure we've spoken about it before. 10 years he's been coaching, and he's still considered a young coach. 10 years of experience, unpaid as well, by the way. 10 years of experience, and you're still considered to be a young coach. Do you know what I mean? And I think actually you've got a decade of experience, whether it be all over the place.
But the coaching game's long. It's a long game, isn't it?
Very long game.
You could be.
And there was something else I wanted to ask as well. Sorry to cut you. There was something else I wanted to ask you was, I know we spoke about it a little bit earlier, is that when you've got a team like Redhill, we had it at Beck. How do you compete with, when it comes to recruiting players, putting in 7 days, so forth? You compete with clubs like SCR who have got a massive budget. And Redhill have got a budget, don't get me wrong, but maybe not as big as SCR. Or how do you compare? Or how do you get players to buy in? Do you know what I mean?
Feeds into this question because you've gone from a coach that's probably never had a budget before to now a coach with a budget. So it feeds into the same question. How does it go to manage that budget, being kind of the first budget? I know people might have done it at work, like I manage budgets here.
Yeah.
That's different. It's different when you've got players and now you need to how is it to manage that budget to then get the players like Charles was saying from them leagues?
I think I was lucky because believe it or not, although I never played the game at non-league level, I knew loads of players because all those players that I played with as kids are now in their prime, or the players I had at youth team level are now 21,
so
22, 23.
It's not about the money for them.
Well, I had the ability to get hold of some of them. For some people, it is the money. Some people, it ain't. But the privilege that I've got at Redhill is there is a bit of a budget, a very competitive budget in that league. There's no shying away from it. Like, we're by no means the biggest. We're by no means the lowest. We're just competitive.
Yeah.
And if I want to go and add a player, I can. I've got the ability to do that whilst making sure I'm inside the budget limitations, because it's very important to the club that they don't overspend, because there's bigger things than the football pitch. So so for me, I had that ability to go and have those conversations, and I was quite lucky that although no one, so before Barry resigned, there was a couple of, I suppose we'll call it big hitters financially that had moved on.
So you got free budget.
So before you knew it, when I looked at budget, and I go, right, okay, actually when I first took over we were running below, so I didn't have to worry about, hang on, who do I bring in, who do I have to lose to bring someone in. I didn't have to worry about that. And I made a point of, if you're going to pay someone a certain money, like listen, people pay to play in that league. Like I remember the year Worcester Park won Division 1, and my pal's younger brother played in it, Mark Waters, who plays for Tooting Mitchell now. And he scored something like 45 goals at that level, and he was paying £10 a week to play in Div 1. So if you can get someone to go and do that for you and pay you £10 to play, the same way I know you said at Beck, they weren't a penny. People
the thing
pay for
is
free.
that I think the budget stuff is difficult, you know, because like you might be in a situation, where I kind of get the vibe that players will just play for you, if that makes sense. It may not necessarily be how much you can offer them. That players will just play for you, and I think when you've got that about you, it's gold dust basically. But you've also got, let's say, like you've got situations where I've experienced in clubs where they'll have players that they'll have players that that, let's say, they may not necessarily charge the players, but I've seen where they'll charge you to get in though if you're injured.
That's mad.
It's
I
difficult.
think that's crazy.
That's
But I've seen it.
There's so much difficulty. Like, you know, we like the boys do get, the majority of them get something at Redhill, whether it's expenses, a bit more than that, whatever. But they pay for their own training kit. They pay for their own tracksuit. You know, so every club's got pros and cons. No club's got everything.
So at Redhill, the players will get paid whatever it is that they're getting, but they might fork out for their tracksuit.
But that just comes out of the budget, I guess, and they'll be like, "Don't pay me for 2 weeks." And
Different. But I didn't get involved in none of that at the start of the year. But some of them paid up front. Some of them had it out their first couple of weeks. Like whatever. But you know, it's different for everyone.
So, such a young age, and you've had all this experience.
Yeah, very good CV.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good CV.
It's like, to be fair, it just doing this podcast is making me think the people that we all were growing up with now are coming to that age where their journeys are only just starting, as much as they're not, because we've been around for a while. Like I said, I've known you from back at Carl Shorten. But actually, our journeys are only just starting.
I kind of want to know what the dream is.
For me?
Yeah, like what's the...
Listen,
one day I want to be, like, what's the dream?
I'm not... I'll describe it. You talk about self-analysis, right? I know I can coach, I know I can put on a session, and I know that people will buy into me if I put on a decent session. But I ain't no training ground, look at my demos, But what I do is I have an idea how I want people to play, and I want it executed, and I'll take that with me everywhere I go. I have principles, I have a theory, I have a
Have you ever had a situation, we had this, I went on a like UEFA B thing, and we met Jamie, oh my God, he used to manage Dartford. Anyway, guy's name's Jamie something. So, and he was saying that he had a way of playing, like what you just said, that you kind of bring with you. It's like your coaching philosophy, basically.
In a way.
Have you ever experienced a time when you've gone somewhere with your philosophy and you don't have the players that can execute your philosophy? Are you willing to adjust, or is it like, I'm going to have to get players in that are willing to play how I want them to play? Because, for example, like he's at Dartford and he had a lot of senior players at the time he took it over. And he was kind of describing to us that the way that he wants to play, he does want to play up from the back, he wants the ball all the time, really high ball retention. But he had centre mids that just physically couldn't do it. 30, 31, they're used to picking up the ball, spraying it, basically. And he didn't have the budget or the resources to just get those players out and bring players in. So he had to work with the centre mids that he had. Have you ever had to adjust your philosophy because of the players you've got?
Yes and no. So yeah, like when I was at Denham, I had to, because the biggest thing for me is I expect my teams to outrun the other team.
Okay, work rate.
Whether that's with the ball or without it. What I mean is, like, so we defend a certain way. So we try and press high if we can't. But no, we set like a mid block in. And that's what I want to do. Like, get a mid block in, and two centre halves can have it. We'll press the first one as soon as it goes in the midfield. That kind of thing. And then when we're on the ball, I want us to play forward, and I want us to play forward quickly. But I want runners in behind. I want bodies in the box. I want...
Must be a Carl Shorten, because it sounds like how I set up.
No, like, it wasn't. I wanted them at it. Like, I'm not big on ball retention and all things like that. Like, just go and be at it. And I was like, okay. And when I went to Denham, players couldn't do it. They weren't the most mobile in the league. They weren't the fittest in the league. And that was probably the difficulty. When I went to Redhill, the hard bit was that hard to beat element, because they're young kids. And that's why I really wanted to add a spine. So I went and got a whole midfield player to add who was in there, who knew how to win games at that level, weren't going to set the world on fire. I went and got a centre half who could repel everything that comes in the box. And they were the biggest things for me, is like, you know, with that style, you need to adjust it and tweak it, Because when you've got better players, you might change the system. Or when you've got 2 good centre, if you ain't got any good wingers, don't play with wingers. Go and play with 2 centre forwards. Play a diamond. And like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you've got really good wingers, play with wingers. If you've got the best 2 strikers in the league, or 2 of the best, play 4-4-2. It don't matter what the rest of it behind it looks like. Get them 2 playing together.
Yeah.
You know, best example I think of Ricky Corbell and Mikel Miller. Youth team football, them 2 play together. Go on. Go and run after them.
So, is there anything? We're going to wrap it up now.
Yeah.
Is there anything anyone you want to shout out? Anything you want
Wait,
to
hang
say?
on. What was the dream?
The dream. Sorry.
What was the dream?
For me, if I can, I want to work in full-time football.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna be no academy coach. I ain't gonna be running Colchester's under 18s or head of it. That ain't me. If I'm gonna do it, I want to get to a point where non-league football takes me full time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
So
ain't
like almost like a Torquay,
AFC
United.
AFC Wimbledon.
Yeah.
But
they're in league though.
Yeah, but like,
I was there through the leagues.
I just think,
like,
look, I'm at Redhill. We've had a good start. It's early days. Let's worry about getting them next year, having something to shout about and compete with, and then see what happens. But for me, now I'm back in football. I want to stay in football. I love my time in the women's game. Taught me loads, and would never disrespect the women's game.
Yeah.
I think they're different. And I think the more people start to realise that women's football, men's football, whilst it's the same game, there needs to be seen in different lights. There's different levels to it.
Yeah.
But I want to go and take it as far as I can. But first and foremost, is trying to reset this year. Good pre-season, have a title challenge with Redhill next year, albeit I think that'd be tough, but have a good go at it and be in the top 4, top 6, and see what happens from there. Really, but now I'm back. I've got the hunger back. I think I'd lost the hunger a little bit, and now there's the bit between my teeth. Football runs my life a little bit again. You know, and it's good. It's good to have because there's nothing better. I don't care what anyone says. There's no better feeling than going away on a cold Wednesday night at Collier's Wood. And it might be 3 people clapping you off at the end, but it don't matter.
Getting that win makes your whole night.
Yeah, it does. And no Saturday is better. So it's a great dream, and I can see you doing it. To be fair, you're very determined to do it. I know you're a determined person, so I hope that happens, and I hope you get in the right position that allows you to do that. Obviously,
when he starts airing your calls in that because he's too big now.
So obviously you set up a draw for us today. Obviously you can't do it because you're coming back from your leg injury that was 10 years ago. So you set it up for all of us to give us a run. It was a pretty good draw, to be fair, and I'll be nicking it. I'm sure Sean will as well.
100% I'm stealing it. I'm definitely stealing it.
But before we do wrap up, obviously we'll put it to the polls as I keep saying. Do you think I've done better this week? Before we do go, is there anyone you want to shout out? Anything you want to say before we finish up?
No, just thanks for having me on, guys. I've had a listen. I think it's like doing some good stuff. So keep doing what you're doing and be tracking your progress and that. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure.
Maybe if you get promoted all the way up to League 2.
Remember
that time that we interviewed that guy?
Listen, that's all a dream, innit? Like for now, let's just have the best non-league career I can have.
I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you travelling down. Thank you very much for your time today.
No, it's been good. It's been good.
Alright, so for today's drill, got a multi-finish. So it's a crossbar challenge from here. Enter the box, receive a pass from the server, touch out your feet, strike. Come back round the cone here, into the box again, receive, touch out your feet, strike, this time on your left foot. And you spin off down the side, receive a square serve, finish across your body. Come round the other cone, receive on the other foot, left foot, finish across your body. Alright? Right, ready? Get ready,
Tech as Brownie.
Don't know the drill. Harrison Williams come with a great drill for us. Loads of balls, loads of running. Let's see how it goes.